Hi, this is Joseph Gillette with Love Tea and Life. I'm a little sick, so I wanted to come outside and talk about content streams. We're building a protocol which is a little bit of the best of Brian Johnson and different groups out there that have longevity and health, alternative fitness, health related content, and it's called Life Hack Protocol. And a big topic that comes up is content streaming, or what kind of content you allow to ingest yourself every day. And a lot of the programs talk about the morning time being your sacred time. And I have to take my kid to school, so some of us don't have choices so much that we are beholden to our schedules with jobs, things like that. But we can control what kind of content we consume. It used to be kind of a traditional TV, check the news type of thing, and now with the internet, you can really choose to watch or listen to anything you want. And a lot of people have, especially starting around the COVID time, started to be triggered around social media content and a lot of things, and there were a lot of flamers, and obviously there's a lot of different influences that want to control what content we consume for advertising purposes. And it's not only advertising, it's really about controlling the narrative. And I'm talking about big groups, whether it's big oil or big pharma or any kind of group. I mean, I was explaining to the wife, if we look at this just from a Wall Street perspective, I've always been a trader, and traders have the tendency to, any trader, talk up their book. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I own $1 billion of silver. Let's say I work for Goldman Sachs or any other crappy investment bank. I have a huge $20 billion position in a stock, for example. My interest is exactly tied to that instrument. So if the stock goes up, I'm going to make a lot of money. So if I'm on TV talking about the stock, I'm going to say good things about it, because if the stock goes up, people buy the stock, I'm going to make money. So that's called talking up your book. That means I have a book of positions and I'm going to talk good about it. And I may be convinced about those things. I'm not lying. It's not advertising. I'm biased because I have a position. And that's why on financial media, a lot of times they'll say in the bottom, this person has a position in XYZ security. But at the end of the day, what percentage of media in any topic is influenced by people who have biases and opinions because they have skin in the game? I would say it's closer to 100%, because what motivates people to give speeches on TV or make social media content? Very few people do it just for doing it. I mean, there are people like that out there. That's what I'm doing now. But I don't have millions of followers. And that's typically the case. Usually when people get to this point where you have a huge following, it's you're promoting something, you're selling something, and that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has the right to an opinion and free speech, as long as you don't want to kill other people. It's obviously not good. And there are people like that out there too. The point is, we can choose what content we consume. And what I found that works for me is I just have a pink filter on everything. I have an energy bubble. And I got this from the Monroe Institute, where you create an energy bubble around you. And it's in the astral plane. And nothing can penetrate that energy bubble. It could be positive, negative, anything. It's just your own little bubble. It doesn't mean I'm an ostrich that sticks my head in the sand. I look at all kinds of things. I follow even weird, dark things, just for information purposes. But it doesn't trigger me. It doesn't bother me. I can look at some crazy things, irrational people, or whatever that content may be. It's not going to trigger me. On the flip side, you've got all this inspirational content. Like, I just watched something about a guy from Korea making a traditional Korean barbecue with a pot. And I like to watch all these how-to videos, how to like do it yourself and stuff like that. And it's inspiring. Or creativity, how artists can create things. I look at content for either information, and when I say information, I mean something really specific. Like Brian Johnson has great dietary content based on results, and he spent millions of dollars trying to create this, and he's done a great job. And there are lots of people like that. But then you've got the Tony Robbins side of content, which is kind of it's not full of information. It's full of motivation, and that's good too. I mean that people need to be motivated. But what I do is I look at the data, because I'm a trader and I look at data, but I also look for inspirational content. And by inspirational content, for me, it's construction, music, a lot of music, art, how people can make some amazing things with art. And also, there's these people I follow. I don't know what you call them. There's one guy, Mr. Pitbull, and he just shares these real stories of people helping other people and people who are down on their luck, and he helps them, and then they become just turned around, and other inspirational things. Because I mean, people can be pretty bad. I mean, we've seen the worst of it in the last few years, but there's a lot of good out there. The thing is, the good isn't amplified. So, like, I mean, look at your local news. What's going to be in the local news every day? Someone's arrested, a building burned down, a car crash. If I took a bum off the street, gave him $1,000 and gave him a haircut and kind of a makeover, gave him a house to live in or something, it's not going to be on the news. I mean, a guy built a small village for homeless vets. That was on the news, but he spent $10 million. In other words, a car crash that is fatal, or a robbery or something negative and dark, is going to be on the local news for sure. Now, I'm not saying that that's good or bad. The point is that negative content that is the opposite of positive and uplifting has the tendency to be amplified, not necessarily for nefarious purposes. Like in the car crash example, it's a great thing. No one is promoting that negativity. It's just naturally people are always interested in what's going on, what happened, and so I draw on positive things, and there's positive content all around, locally, on different social media websites, I think that the key is to drown out the noise, I should say, is to find sources which are sort of that resonate with you, and then you follow those sources, and you sort of trust content from these sources. I'll give you one example. In the financial world, there's a lot of analysts. I really like the short sellers like Hindenburg and Ackman and guys like that, because they do research on fraud, and then they take a position based on their research, and they usually publish the research publicly. But one of my favorite analysts is Catherine Austin Fitts, and the reason is it's an older female. She worked for the government, I think under Bush. She worked for HUD, something like that, and she saw how the machine works. And people on a high level in Wall Street typically know how the machine works, but she's very analytical, and so when she looks at data, she's looking at big financial relationships, like why is this happening, who's funding it, where's the money going. And I'll give you one example. During the 2020 riots, there were people burning down buildings. She plotted on a map every building that burned down, and there was insurance claims on all those buildings. All the buildings that burned down, not the ones that were just a little bit smashed up, but the ones that actually were destroyed for insurance purposes, were 100% in IRS federal special tax districts. And for those of you who don't know, special tax district is given a special tax status in regards to real estate. So you can do developments. It's mostly in urban areas. The idea was, I don't know if it was from the 70s or 80s or 90s, but it was at some point they wanted to rejuvenate the downtown areas which were becoming dilapidated. So they gave these tax incentives for investors to come invest, and then not have the same tax burden as you would in a normal development, because there's a lot of taxes throughout the whole development process. But they're only in very specific areas. So like if you look at a downtown map, it can be 10-20% of the whole downtown, and they usually choose the most dilapidated, rundown area. These buildings that burned down, I mean, there were thousands of them. They were all exactly in the special tax district and not across the street. I mean, That cannot be a coincidence. That is way beyond probability. So the content that comes from Catherine Austin Fitts, and she has a service, I should sign up for it. I don't pay for really any like paid services because you can find so much for free. But she's one that I would definitely pay for because the quality is there, and it can be the same with someone that just provides content on online for free. You don't have to be an analyst. I'm just giving you my methodology that works for me. I have sources that I follow that are high quality intelligence sources, just like you would if you're a trader, an analyst, or if you work for military intelligence. You've got your sources, and it's not going to be the same sources as your colleague. You have to have some tradecraft which is unique to you, and that applies to anybody. Personally, you should find someone who resonates with you. It could be a church, your local pastor. It could be people follow Jesus, and amen. That's fantastic. And I live in the Bible Belt, and the people that are here are amazing Christians, and they're good people. And so there's that. There's religion. There's all kinds of things. And I think if you stick to your trusted sources, and of course your family, you can't go wrong. And then nothing will trigger you or impact your happy bubble. And every day is an inspiration. Every day I wake up to something interesting, and life is full of joy. And I'm not coming from a perspective of self-help, like I was broken and I needed fixing. Not that. It's not that at all. It's just that as you age and as you have kids, you start to notice negative patterns, whether it's the junk food, alcohol, bad habits, sporting events. I don't know where to really start, but society has become this kind of machine that just sort of churns people into consumers, power consumers. You know, they want you to constantly be shopping and working, and and then you get sick. Medicine costs more than you can afford, so you take credit card debt, and then you pay the interest on that. And they want to maximize our activity. The worst thing that what they don't want is someone living off grid, eating their own food that they grow. It's not that it's a threat to the system. You know, those people are not going to threaten the system, but they're also not going to help the revenue forecast grow. What they want is lots of fat, happy slaves that are just smart enough to push the buttons on the machines, but not quite smart enough to figure out that if they just stopped eating all this junk food and working in factories, then they would not depend on the system, because it's the opposite. The system needs people. The people don't need the system. But we're building a better one, so it's all good. I think that's a good place to end this. I just wanted to talk about content and how you consume it. And Lifehack Protocol, we're going to be cultivating content from specific sources like Brian Johnson and others. I mentioned him a lot. It's just there's not so many people like Catherine Austin Fitts or Brian Johnson in their respective fields that produce such high quality content regularly. I'll drop one other name. It's Dr. Michael Salla, and his topic is exopolitics. And that is the politics between basically human organizations and non-human organizations. And it's a fascinating field, because you've got what's going on now, but you've also got the history, like World War II. Then you've got ancient history, which ties into the content in Ancient Aliens, that who built the pyramids, who made, we don't know who and how everything happened. What we know is the story that's being fed to us is false. We know that slaves with ropes didn't build the Giza pyramids. It just would be physically impossible. We've tried to recreate the laser precision. There are these in South America. I think it's either Pumapunku or it's the one that's near Lake Titicaca. They can fit a dollar bill. A dollar bill doesn't even fit through how precise these stones are cut. We do not have lasers that precise. So who built them? It wasn't humans, or it was some advanced humans, which were far advanced than we are now, but in the deep past. So exopolitics is fascinating, and this is one unique unbiased, objective researcher who was a former academic who went full on into this, and he's just very balanced and objective. And because it's a field filled with fakers and intelligence agents and limited hangouts, and I mean, you've got a whole litany of characters trying to fight for the narrative, and so there are good people out there that produce content that's worth listening to, and there's no regret. If I watch an exopolitics video, there was never a time where I watched one of Michael's videos and I thought I just wasted my time, and that's the case with a lot of content online. It's always fascinating. It's always like life changing. Whenever you watch an exopolitics, it's like, I got to share this with my friends. This is just crazy information, and some of it is nuts. So I would check it out. I don't want to give you any spoilers, but make a list of things that you trust, and content and people that you trust that are interesting, that are stimulating, that give you something positive and fulfilling. Follow that, and keep it inside your little energy bubble. And that's what I'm doing with Life Hack Protocol. It's the content we consume, it's the food that we eat, it's the spiritual side, it's the work side, the work-life balance, but not in the traditional sense, like in a time management sense, just energy that you're putting into your work versus energy that you're getting out. It should be, you should be creating value. You shouldn't be just kind of winning the lottery every day and getting checks. Like, you should be creating value. So all of these things being put together in Life Hack Protocol. So if you're watching this, I wish you a great day. Namaste, and I hope to see you in other videos.